Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. And pleasure to listen to the minister as well. First and foremost, Anya and the whole team at NASK and Safer Internet Poland. Thank you so much for the invitation. I think this was like the second or third time to be here. And just to make a note, I had the pleasure in the last decade visiting and advising and working and presenting in more than 44 countries in the world. This is the biggest and one of the best online safety conferences in Europe. And by being so, just by all of you being here, not running away after the coffee break and lunch break. So to the minister and the whole team, thank you so much. And I hope you receive the support you need to continue on. Today, my topic is rather wide, and I have to watch my time to give you all of the information I do. But I love to start with this quote. Our minds, our brains are millions, 3.2 millions years old. And sometimes our emotions take the best of us online. And then we try to work with organizations or institutions that move really slowly, and we have technology at our hands that works at the speed of light. So that's challenge number one. And I love that I gave that to AI, and I asked to AI, can you give me a visual representation of this so visual learners can do better? And you can notice a couple of things. Number one, AI still cannot spell as good as we can, or this one didn't. And I think it's a really interesting approach, how from that one quote he developed, or it developed this. And it's important that I think we all start to use more technologies to help us do better, perform better, but as well be more efficient as we go along. So the topic today, and on a comment that the name of the conference has been long, my name of my presentation has been long, identification and protection of children particularly vulnerable to online threats. I work for the UK Safer Internet Center. SWGFL is a not-for-profit charity where I work. And next year we are celebrating 25 years. That's a long time. And we love to remind every social media company that we are a bit older than them. And I love the quote from the speaker just before when he said, teachers are not supermen. And if you are, you need to go and kind of seek counsel. I think that was a really good quote. But if I can just go from that and say, yes, but Superman had and wouldn't be Superman without Lois Lane. So I hope all of you can be a Lois Lane to the Superman of our future, which are our children, and they need your support. And I'm here today to add another responsibility, to add another notion to your thinking of who and how we should protect. Harm is evolving rapidly, as well as the groups who are being intentionally targeted by people online, criminal organizations, and we need to be aware to expand our understanding of those groups, but as well ways we can help them. At some point during my presentation, you might see a random quokka. We don't know much, but we do know that when we talk about difficult topics, images and videos of funny animals doing funny things works really well for our mental health. So please remember when a quokka jumps up, take a deep breath, you're safe, you're good, and as well, maybe use it in some of your presentation. This is the happiest animal in the world. They're really nice. So moving on from that, we work as a partnership of 3 organizations, Internet Watch Foundation, ChildNet, and SWGFL to create the UK Safer Internet Center. And moving from that as well, I asked AI, and I do apologize if there is a mistake, to design me a visual representing some beautiful imagery from Polish culture, but as well understanding and defining vulnerability in the internet age. I don't know how the tool did it, but I think it's a wonderful depiction of how it might look and how we need to think differently. And the definition is rather broad, groups of people who are at a higher risk of experiencing harm, discrimination, or disadvantage. But that's fluid. I would think it's fluid because 10 years ago, the vulnerable groups of today were not. 15, 20, 30 years ago, or 35 with the invention of internet. And as well, new categories of harm and minority or vulnerable groups are evolving. And I'm sorry to say, women fall into that category in something that is called technology-facilitated gender-based violence. In majority of cases, committed by men, and in majority of cases, victim are women. Young boys fall into that category while gaming and experiencing something that's called sextortion, or extortion of money for intimate images and videos. There are many of things that we need to consider going forward, and you are the best people on the ground working with that children to recognize those first signs. We don't know the things that I can tell you in particular, but the 4 C's of online safety still stand. If it's Roblox, if it's TikTok, if it's MicMic or LickLick, whatever the app is, and 7, 8 years ago when I was here, my TikTok session is still being watched, and thank you so much for that. But not much has changed there, except the last 4 C that we need to think about to contract. So for the big question is what you should know about protecting children online, especially vulnerable groups, 4 C's of online safety, and you can Google that really quickly and find out. But moving from that, vulnerability in the internet age, in the digital age, has evolved. And these are just some of categories of vulnerable groups we need to think about. Starting with children and young people, absolutely. Children with special education needs, children on autism spectrum or any other non-neuronormative spectrums have a different experience online, and we now know are more likely to get abused online or being harmed. Victims of prior sexual abuse have a higher chance of being abused online. Children with abilities and disabilities, low-income and marginalized communities, LGBTQI, refugees and migrants, people who speak a second or a third language, if it's English, have a higher chance of being abused online. And especially category really close to my heart, children in care or children in care homes. I don't know if it's in Poland, but in many countries of the world, children without parents are under government's responsibility to take care of them. So I'll give you a question. What are the provisions, the structures, the filtering and monitoring set up in children's homes to protect the most vulnerable children we know from the biggest harm? And if there are any, please support your government, support NASK and everybody else who can set up those provisions, because that children who are at most risk in physical life are at most risk in a digital life. And we need to pay more attention to children that require special care in physical life. They require even more support in digital life. So if we produce resources, awareness materials, wonderful what Lucas told us. My presentation is still not good as yours, by the way, I'm trying. We need to think about those groups as well, and how will they use those materials? And what would be the warning signs? And every time I show this, basically this is a sign of a teenager. And I know it's difficult, but the stats still remain the same. Parents talk to children around 10 minutes per day. You see them for far longer, so you have a higher chance of recognizing some of these things and notifying, or at least engaging in a conversation with children. So what we can do about it? First, there's 2 pieces of news there. One says, autistic teenager attempted suicide after social media sites refused to take down the viral video. And the one on the bottom is in a Croatian, that a worker at a gas station, a young person has approached him to fill out a form to start working there with special needs. And he made fun of that person and recorded a video. And after that, the young man has taken his own life. So we definitely need public awareness campaigns to understand that these groups of people are even more, I would say, susceptible to online abuse and harm, and we need to sensitize all of us together that we need to do better, and we can do better. And you're the first people that can definitely notify and do that. Creating accessible tools or working with others is also important. And I would say involve those communities. Involve the LGBTQI community if you're writing something for them. Involve the Roma community if you're writing an awareness campaign or a material. Involve them into those discussions. How can you know how a person who has hearing or visual impairment, how they see your materials and resources, and what you could be doing that might help those communities even further? So there's much that we need to adapt and think about, because as I said in the beginning, the vulnerable groups are shifting and they're moving as we develop. So random coca. We're safe, we're good. It's a beautiful animal as well, really fun, but you don't need to touch them as well. So the bubble is important. Again, I asked AI, how does a bubble look like? Specifically thinking about Poland and thinking about some of your tools. If you do not belong to any vulnerable group, you're outside of the bubble and you have no experiences to connect with them. That's why we need to involve them in our discussions, in our rulemaking, policy making, to understand how does it look to be inside of their bubble, because I'm betting you that your experiences online are far, far, far different than theirs. But at the same time, you need to respect that you have a bubble as well. And ask yourself what kind of information is inside and what is outside, what is misinformation, what is fake news, what are deep fakes, as my colleague is going to speak after me, and how does that influence our understanding. So this is my point. You are the bridge builder. And in this notion, the bridges of communication, respect, understanding, empathy, and showing to those groups that there is somebody out there to listen. You don't know the solution, that is fine, but you are maybe the only person there to listen to them. So after today, using the awesome knowledge you have gained today, start building those bridges with the children around you that you now know need extra care and extra protections. So how does that conversation look like? It should be non-judgmental, non-victim blaming, and open, where you can share, and most importantly, listen. And listen a lot, because their experiences of social media is not the same as ours. By the way, on the left top it says 65, consider it 25 and over. This is a little bit outdated data, but this is the new data. They use far more digital technologies and social media apps than we ever use them. And I love some of you, when you compare your time on mobile phones with teenage time on mobile phones, it's pretty much the same. We just claim that we also use it for work, right? So consider when you're building the bridge, you need to build the bridge between the gap here of your experience and their. So download the apps, play the games, try to utilize the same services and tools they are, and then come back and have a discussion. Have an open conversation with them to try to understand it. Thinking about it and going forward, they do live in a digital jungle. And as a teacher, looking at this digital playground, I know that each of you, when you go to a playground, it's like you scan for the edges and dangers, like you know everything that can harm any child there, right? I'm calling on you to do the same in a digital space. I'm calling on you to join all of those apps, all of those games, and check for sharp edges. Check for challenges. Check for dangers. Then report it to the Safer Internet Center, absolutely, but as well report it to the apps themselves. People with maleficent intention towards children will go to digital playgrounds where children are. So we all need your help. 1 in 3 internet users is a child. And in the future, that number is only going to grow. So we need more light bringers. We need more teachers joining TikTok and maybe recording a video of something fun, maybe math, maybe history, maybe something, because there might be a chance that our children will encounter that and not pornographic content. Well, I'll take it a step further. Your own children, maybe not engaging with students on social media. You can influence their algorithms the same way those algorithms has been made. So if you send the kids quokkas, they will see more quokkas. So if you send them a TEDx talk or a TED talk or something educational, they will see more of that content and have a higher chance of being safer, but as well being educated on that. So please do join and please share that. I hope some of you recognize who this person is. And if you think that this person is the influencer to the vulnerable groups or children, I'm so sorry, no, this is one of the lists that I downloaded of people most influential in Poland, different websites, you can check it. Do you know who these people are? Do you know what they are influencing, what they are selling, what they are talking to our children, or even better yet, who these people are, specifically in categories of kids and toys? These are the, sorry, I'll move so you can take a picture. These are the influencers influencing our children. Do we know who they are? Have we seen their content? Have we engaged with them? Do we understand that our child knows probably more of them than any of the influencers that we claim to understand and think who they are? So modalities of harm are changing. and they're changing rapidly. To research that covered Latin America and Sub-Saharan Africa, some really important findings. The more children experience sexually explicit online content, the less we talk to them. Isn't that weird? The gap that needs a bridge being built is there. And I always love to say, there is no more taboo topics. Internet has solved them. So if we do not talk to our children and open the bridge of communication on many difficult topics, they will find that information somewhere else. I love to use the quote, we need to find appropriate ways to talk about the inappropriate, and making sure that children can reach out to you to talk about it. And the threats of child sexual abuse, grooming, and sextortion are unfortunately on an unprecedented rise year after year. In average, many of you know it takes 45 minutes to groom a child. The quickest, as little as 19 seconds. I flipped this slide 19 seconds ago. That's how quick it happens. And that is when a point that the child needs to recognize or be supported enough to recognize a threat and walk across the bridge of communication and respect that you built with them so they can stay protected and call on your help, not your judgment. They don't need that. Not your advice. Maybe they need that. But just your support. Just you standing next to them, experiencing a world that I'm sorry to say we have never experienced as children. We were the generation that needed to learn how to pick the phone up and how to dial the numbers on that, remember? They are the generation that need to learn how to put the phone down, which is a complete opposite thing. And we are the ones that we need to educate them about that. So, another one. Breathe, you're safe, you're good. Use random pictures of funny things when you deliver topics, when they deliver presentation about hard topics. It helps the audience. It truly helps our mental health. So maybe when you get back home, you will like all of these organizations and NASK and every of them on social media, but maybe add a couple of animals as well. So when you're doom scrolling on your phone, as we all do, maybe a random animal pops up and kind of takes care of your mental health. It brings me up to the next topic, and I asked what are the dangers of online safety and social media towards children to AI. And again, this is all done by AI. It's not spelling correctly, the left and the right, the good and the bad, and unfortunately a sad person in the middle. I didn't tell it to do that, but that's how one of the most intelligent tools sees the space currently. So we have heard as well in the last couple of days, new research is coming up. Please stand on the science and allow science some time to develop around these topics. But one of the biggest ones said that they found little association between teenagers' technology use and mental health problems. So that's what the science tells us. We might believe differently, but we need to make sure that we are following the latest advice and latest kind of findings so we can craft our messaging based upon it. Gaming, I'll quickly cover because those vulnerable groups experience gaming differently. The average age of a gamer is still around 35. Gaming is an entertainment industry, targeting adults, but children are also playing it. And children with special needs and vulnerable groups especially use gaming as a form of socializing. So we need to evolve our advice there. We need to think about cyberbullying because it's still here. And the children more affected are the children coming out of vulnerable groups. And yes, the reasons are always appearance, race, all of these superficial things. Yes, majority of them happen on websites with images and pictures, but the number 3 reason after suffering cyberbullying is 26% of children had suicidal thoughts. So it is really important that we do that. There are solutions that we can develop, which is reporting harmful content, having platform for children to directly report them. But we need to develop them, and we need to support others to develop those solutions. We need to think about intimate image abuse. That in the UK Safer Internet Centre, SWGFL, we developed something called Revenge Porn Helpline, but it only works in UK. So we developed something called stopncii.org, which is a global platform, protection of intimate images of adults. We're working with these partners and hopefully many more to create technological solutions to help us combat some of those issues. So what you need to know and how, engage on various social media platforms, learn about privacy settings, educate yourself about general online safety, and identify vulnerable communities in your line of work. You need to build a bridge of communication and respect. You need to understand that all of you and the head teacher and the minister and the children and the vulnerable groups do need the multi-stakeholder approach, so all of us together. Then review what you did, educate yourself continually, and remember that the unheard, unseen, and unsupported communities around you need you to be their voice and to be that. You can identify the barriers for them to report abuse. You can develop effective intervention with them, not for them. You need testimonies, interviews, and case studies, and you need to understand that they have unique risks that we do not recognize. Do not forget about AI. It is conquering the world, and it can make you better in not only one thing. There's thousands of AI tools that you can be using. Think about your digital diet. What are you feeding yourself with? What is the content you're choosing to take? And as well, do not forget that we only take pictures of the happy moments in our life. But as well, we need to understand that our children are looking at the same content and trying to compare themselves to that. And their lives are much harder when you compare yourself to something that doesn't exist or is not reality. I'll leave you with the 3 quotes. Be the positive digital role model. Help us create a better and safer internet. And one of the last one is, be the adult we all needed when we were teenagers. You can be that to them today. Enjoy, explore, ask for help. Be the grandma. Put the phone down. Enjoy the moment. But at the same time, don't blame the tech. It's us. It's not technology. That's the more difficult answer. Not much has changed in hundreds of years. So in the end, I'm going to use this quote as I always do. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so we may fear less. And I'll add just one more sentence, because our children are fearless. So help them navigate this new world. You are now the bridge builders. Go build those bridges of communication and respect. And please think about various questions you can be asking yourself about this. Thank you so much, Anya. Thank you so much, everybody, for the attention, and as well for giving me the opportunity to talk to you again. If there's any time for Q&A, I'll be here as well. Thank you so much.